Welcome to SST College of Arts and Commerce. This is SST Edupedia. Myself, Assistant Professor Sunil Shah. Today I will be covering up the topic called Employees Provident Fund Scheme 1952, which is there in the class of FYBMS of Mumbai University, SEM 2, and the unit which has been covered is called as Unit 3. The subject is Industrial Law. Students, in this particular video, I will be speaking about Employees Provident Fund Scheme 1952. Employees Provident Fund is a statutory benefit which is payable to the employees working in India by the employer. The Employees Provident Fund and the Miscellaneous Provident Fund 1952 Act is applicable throughout India. And it is applicable pan-India, means once it is applicable in India, in any part of India, it is applicable throughout any part of the organization within India. The administration and the management of the Employees Provident Fund, that is EPF, is carried out by the Central Board of Trustees, that is CBT, established by the central government. The government, the employees and the employees respectively. The Employees Provident Fund organization assists in the board and in its activities. Today in this particular video, I will be covering up the following topics, that is the concept of Employees Provident Fund, the types of the scheme available, the applicability of the Act, the eligibility of the members for the Employees Provident Fund, the process of withdrawal of the Provident Fund, the benefits given to the employer and the employees, the eligibility conditions for the employer, the contribution which the employer and the employers to make, the withdrawal scheme for the employee. If there is a job change or the person quits the job and does not have any job, what are the procedure? When the employer makes default, then what are the provisions related to that? That is related to the penalties. Coming to the points one by one, I would be explaining the concept of Provident Fund. The EPF is a welfare scheme brought into force to secure a better future of the employees. It is a statutory benefit available to the employees post-retirement or when they leave the services in case of the deceased, that is the dead person. The employee, the dependents will be entitled for the benefits which are given under the Act. Under the EPF schemes, both employer and employee have to make contribution towards the fund. The interest earned on this amount is credited to the Employees Provident Fund account, that is PF account, and is available to the employees at the time of retirement and exits from the employment as the case may be as provided under the Act and the condition to be fulfilled. Today in this particular video, I will be explaining about the types of the scheme under the Provident Fund Act. One is Employees Provident Fund Scheme 1952, Employees Pension Scheme 1995, and the Employees Deposit Linked Insurance Scheme 1976. Explaining about the Employees Provident Fund Scheme 1952, it is made available for the purpose of providing the post-retirement benefits for the employee or the class of the employees or the legal heir in case of the death of the employer employed under any establishment to which this Act applies. So this Act is applicable only to these particular persons who are dying by natural death or any accidental death. Then the heirs would be eligible to get the benefits, or the persons during this retirement or any establishment where this Act is applicable. Next is Employees Pension Scheme 1995 for the purpose of providing superannuation pension, retirement pension, or the permanent disablement, partial or total, or the employees of any establishment or class of the establishment to which this Act is applicable, or the widow of the employee or the widow's pension scheme, the children's pension scheme, or the orphan's pension payable to the beneficiaries of such employees. In this case, a new Act that is called Employees Pension Scheme is applicable. Coming to the Employees Deposit Linked Insurance Scheme 1976, it is applicable for the purpose of providing insurance benefits to the employees of an establishment or class of the establishment to whom this Act is applicable in case of the death while on the service. So coming to this main point, deposit linked insurance is that when the person has a natural death during the course of employment. Applicability, the Employees Provident Fund case has been set up under the Employees Provident Fund and the Miscellaneous Provision Act 1952 and is applicable throughout the India, that is in pan-India, that is from each and every part of the India. The Act is applicable to every factory or industries mentioned under Schedule 1 of the Act, wherein 20 or more persons are employed in an organization of that establishment which the central government specifies by notification in the official gazette or even when the number of employees is less than 10, 20 also such act is applicable, provided the central government notification should be there. Next one is the eligibility to be the members of EPF. Enrollment of PF membership is mandatory. That means the person has to fill up the PF membership form. Any person employed for the wages of any work for an establishment, either manual or otherwise, then also this particular act is applicable. Any person applied through the contractor or engaged as an apprenticeship, but not an apprenticeship under the Apprenticeship Act 1961, in such cases also the PF act is applicable. Any person who under the standing orders of the establishment earning less than or equal to 15,000 per annum, 15,000 per month, other than the excluded employees exempted under the section 17 of the act, in such cases also this act is applicable. So students, please remember, any person under the standing orders of the establishment earning less than 15,000 per month, other than the excluded exempted employees under the section 17 of the act, such cases also this act is applicable. Coming to the withdrawal part, how the PF should be withdrawn. The fund of AFF account can be withdrawn completely in full settlement on attaining 58 age of the 58 years of the age, or at the time of retirement of the employee can claim for the complete settlement, or if the employee remains unemployed for a period of 2 months, or maybe in the case of the death while in the service before attaining the age of retirement, in case of the nominees, legal heirs are entitled to withdraw the accumulated fund. So students, from this particular statement, I like to inform you that the withdrawal has to be done during the retirement, or during the when he is not having any job for at least 2 months, or in case of his death, while in case of employment, his widow or the legal heirs are eligible to withdraw that provident fund. The partial withdrawal of the provident fund is also available as per the EPF Act for educational opportunity, for medical treatment, or for repayment of the home loans, or marriage during the any of their children's, the purchase of land, house or flat, or in case of establishment factory is closed due to natural calamities, or on the retirement or the unemployment for a period of more than 1 month. So partial in case of medical treatment, marriage, education, or the purchase of land, flat, or any cases when the factory is closed or due to natural calamities. In such cases, and the person remains unemployment for a period of more than 1 month, then also he can withdraw the partial PF. What are the benefits? The employees covered under the various schemes of the Act are entitled for the following benefits. The employee can take advances or make withdrawals. The PF amount of the deceased member, that the person who is dead, is payable to the nominee or the legal heirs of that particular person. If the employer does not contribute towards the PF, but also makes an unnecessary contribution towards the employees' pensions, which can be used for the employees for post-retirement. This is also one of the benefits. The other benefits, as you see from this particular slide, is that the employed under the EDLI scheme, the employees are properly insured in order to avail the lump sum benefit at the time of death while in the service. That is employees deposit linked insurance scheme. As I told you in the earlier slide, that is applicable when the person dies during the course of employment. In such cases, so such benefit is being availed. The EEE, that is exempt, the tax benefit under the Income Tax Act, and enables tax-free returns for the employees. So in this case, when there is accumulation of that income, it is tax-free. The employees receive the special benefits in the form of added income to their saving in the form of interest. So no orders, no court attachment under the Provident Fund. The PF account can be transferable from if any member changes the employment from one establishment to another establishment where such Provident Fund schemes is applicable. Now coming to the very important aspect, that is called UAN, that is Universal Account Number, is a 12-digit number allotted by EPOF office, that is Employees Provident Fund office, to each of the members to manage the PF account. It acts as an umbrella for the members to assemble all the accounts. PF accounts associated with multiple IDs, that is member identification number, in one place. The UN number is made easy for the employees to monitor, withdraw and transfer of its amount, the PF amount. When the employee changes the jobs, they need to provide the UN number of the last previous company to the new company. that is to link that PF account number. Since UIN number provide a direct online access to the employees, an employer cannot deduct or hold back their PF. So when a person quits or leaves the job, the employer cannot hold that particular PF amount. The employees are eligible to become the member of the PF who is employed in the establishment includes those members who are employed through contractors, daily rated wages, piece rated employees, or the temporary or the casual workers. Excluded employees need not to be enrolled for the PF members. Excluded members are the employees who withdraw the wages, basic plus DA, DNL allowance, cash value for the food concession above 15,000 as on date of joining of an establishment are called as excluded employees. If the wages of the employees is increased beyond 15,000 per month during the course of employment and after becoming the member of the EPF account, such employees are not treated to be excluded employees. In such as cases, the contribution may be restricted up to the wages of 15,000 per month. Employees whose employees provident fund are once fully settled after the attaining the 55 years of the age or on the permanent settlement of above, in such cases also the PF account can be settled. Coming to the next point, that is very important point, that is the contribution of the PF. The contribution which shall be paid by the employer to the provident fund shall be 12% or the 10% of the basic wages, DNS allowance and the retaining allowances of any of the time being payable to each employees, whether employed or him by directly or through indirectly or through the contractor, and the employee's contribution shall be equal to the contribution payable by the employer. So the contribution of the employer and employee should be set. 10% of the 7% contribution or deduction from the wages in certain cases of establishment like jute, BD, bricks, Coir Industries, Gorgum Industries, etc., and also to the establishment which employs less than 20 persons. Basic wages means all employment which are earned by the employees while on duty or leave on the holidays with the wages, either case may be in accordance with the terms of the employment, which are paid in the cash but does not include the cash for the food concession, DAT, HRA or the overtime allowances, bonus, commissions or any other similar allowances. Any present gifts are also been excluded. Now coming out the procedure for withdrawal of the provident fund. On leaving the employment, the employee can leave the organization because of the two reasons: either he is retired at the age of 55 or as the case may be, or rejoin other organization. And provident fund member on leaving the establishment and joining another establishment, he has to provide the UN number of the past employee to the new employee and seek the transfer of the provident fund balances to the new provident fund account open in the transferee's establishment. So he has to transfer the account number, the amount which from the other company to the new company. On the death of the member or his or legal heir or the nominee are eligible for the withdrawal. Retirement on account of permanent or total incapacity. So if there is a retirement of the employee due to the disablement, that is total, or if he wants to retire via through voluntary retirement or through compulsory, in such cases also he can withdraw the provident fund account. Or if that person has become totally incapable due to the work or bodily, or he becomes mentally infirm, duly certified by the medical officers of the establishment immediately before migration from India, or if he is permanently settling abroad, then also he can withdraw the provident fund. Withdrawal of the provident fund can be also due to the termination of the service in the case of mass or individual retrenchment. That is the persons that the employers are being, the employer retrenched the employee. In such cases, the termination of the service under the voluntary scheme or through the compulsory scheme, the employees and the employees under the mutual agreement may specify the procedure for the withdrawal of the provident fund. Any other reasons as may be specified by the Act. The actual payment may be paid only after completion of the continuous period of not less than 2 months immediately preceding the date on which the member makes an application of the withdrawal. How can the members access this detail through the portal? The members has to visit the particular portal, that is called UAN members portal. The website which is at is https://nonmembers.selfservice.in. And after going into the UN website, initially the members will link to activities UN number by giving activity or UN number, by providing the email ID and the phone number as well as the PAN number, the names which is mentioned on the Aadhaar card also. Member have to check their mobile number and their identity as may be. when there is a job change or the person leaves the job and does not get the job after quitting the job, the employer should transfer the provident fund balances of his or her old employer to his current employer when he or she switches the job. The balance accumulated from the previous employer will be remain as it is with the new employer and will start making contributions starting from the date of commencement of his current job. So this is very important point. The amount has to be transferred to the new organization, and the new employer should start contributing to his account. But in instance when the employees quit the employment and does not take up any other employment, he or she can withdraw the provident fund balances. For this to happen, the employee must declare that there is no intention to work within the next coming 6 months. Now coming to the second slide, that is called default in payment due to the employer consequences. What are the consequences? Section 14 subsection 1A of the Employees Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1952 says that there is an imprisonment which may be extended up to 3 years but which should not be less than 1 year, for a fine of rupees 10,000, provided the court for an adequate and specific reasons may give that leverage and depending upon the judgment of the cases from time to time, and the imprisonment for the lesser time if the employer appeals against them. Section 14 subsection 2 and the subsection 2A of the Employees Provident Fund Act and the Miscellaneous Provision Act 1952 says that any person who contravenes any of the law or any of the sections and makes the default in complying with any of the provisions thereof shall be punishable with an imprisonment for a term extend to up to 1 year or a fine which may be extend to up to 4,000 rupees or with both. Whoever contravenes any default in complying with any provisions of the act, if no other penalty is elsewhere provided, and then in such case also there would be imprisonment up to 6 months to the employer, but which may be not less than 1 month, and shall be liable to be fined up to a penalty of rupees 5,000 rupees. Coming to the next part, that is section 14AB of the EPF and Miscellaneous Provident Fund Act 1952 says that arrest without warrant, any offence relating to default in the payment of contribution of the employer shall be under the act shall be cognizable. That is, arrest would be without warrant. Section 14B of the EPF Act and Miscellaneous Provident Fund Act 1952 says that when the employer makes a default in the payment of the contribution, the central government fund, the central provident fund commissioner or any such officer who has been employed under this act may recover from the employers the contribution which has been due by way of penalty, and such damages are not exceeding to the amount of the areas, but a reasonable opportunity of heard should be given before giving his judgment. Thank you from my side, students. In this particular video I have covered up the important aspects of Provident Fund Act 1952. Thank you.